addition to our relations being given as a list, as we saw above, they can also be given as an expression or an equation. When they do that, the variable which is by itself is almost always the dependent one, and the variable which has calculations attached to it is normally the independent variable. The idea here is, what is c? Well, it depends on what 2 times pi times r turns out to be. What is r? That one is independent, meaning there's nothing controlling its value. You have to go out and measure it somehow. So you go, you get a tape measure, you measure your circle, get a value for r, then you do this number crunch, and that tells you the value of c. C depends on the result of this calculation, and so c we call dependent. So in this first expression, r is the independent, big C, the circumference, is the dependent. Here, they're doing it graphically. If you have a graph, the rule is that your independent variable should go on the horizontal axis, or what we often call the x-axis. So just the fact that t is on the horizontal tells us t is our independent variable. T happens first, and as a result, we get a certain value for h, the height. So time is independent, height is dependent. This could be something like the height of a person as they get older, the height of a tree as it grows, something like that. A certain amount of time goes by, and the height that something is depends on how old it is. And finally, the amount of sap obtained from a tree is, now they're handing it to us this time, is dependent on the time. So we'd have an expression here. I don't know how to write this, but I don't know how this relation works, but it would be something like the amount of sap equals, and then we'd have something involving the variable t. It could be 10 times t, it could be 10 times the square root of something t minus something, but it's, overall they're saying the amount of sap is dependent on some calculation involving the time which is independent. So the amount of sap S is dependent. That's what you need to pick out. What about the time? Well, they don't tell us anything about it, which means it's an independent variable. There's nothing telling t what value to have. But S depends on the result of this calculation over here.